All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. This is Devon speaking from Spain. I know we only have 5 minutes. I just have to put the music on because this is a music conference. I'll be representing our team with teammates Charlotte, Mokleep, Philippe, and myself. So we're going to talk about Afrobeats. Turn down the music a bit. All right. So as we all witnessed the rise of the Afrobeats, we did a visualizations on the site, so you can see that how Afrobeats has been tracking more audience in different parts of the world and how it's been growing. And look at the charts here, since we're tracking data from 2018, there are some up and downs, but overall the trend are still saying that Afrobeats has been growing very, very strong. So one of the things we noticed is that the collaborations with the artists in other continents are the key drivers of this global launch of these genres. In terms of collaborations, it goes as back as to, back in 2012 with Afrobeats duo, P Square featuring Rick Ross, and then Wizkid featuring Drake, and then released the One Dance in 2016. And that's how really Afrobeats get into the mainstream and then peaked the #1 on all the charts. And that's then when Afrobeats actually get on a very steep upwards inclinations. So in this exercise here, we do wanted to just take what we have learned in the past 2 days. And then we did a little exercise to really validate and seeing the growth of the Afrobeats and how collaboration has been a direct, timely effect of the growth. Okay, moving on to the next slides. Before I get into our detailed examples, I want to talk about our data curation process. So we mainly used Chartmetrics API, specifically the Spotify monthly listener by top 10 cities. We also used Google Trends and charting websites. In terms of our methodologies, it's very hard, in Spotify or any other DSP to define Afrobeats as a genre because of the different ways of categorizations of music. So we ended up picking just the top 10 Afrobeats artists in the past 3 years, both from Nigeria and outside of Nigeria, to representing the overall subject. In terms of data type, we do have qualitative data as our primary data with along other researchers' data. In terms of data processing, we went through, learned the Chartmetrics API on the spot using Postman to track data. And then we're able to get all the artists and then their streaming data from Spotify to CSV files and then cleaning and then do really Tableau visualization. So that's the animation you're seeing here. Now getting to our examples. So the first one I want to look at is Mr. Eazy. So this is starting from November 18. As you can see on the chart, as of this moment, he has a little bit listening from United States, and most of them are actually from the Europe. But moving along the line, and when it started to hit in July and August here in 2019, you do see this like big immersive changes, explosion of listenings in the Latin America and Mexico's, and these are because he get featured on the Oasis album by J Balvin and Bad Bunny, and that really introduced him into the ears of Latin America audience and the Mexico audience. And then he was able to sustain these listeners. And there's another collaborations with J Balvin in December 2020. Moving on to our next examples. Burna Boy, this is a must-mention name when it comes to Afrobeats. As we can see, and I apologize, the map's a little bit small here, but as you can see that at the very beginning of the stars, he has big followings here in Europe. And then it's interesting to notice that starting on November 20-ish of 2019, you see that orange circles over here really got exploded. And that's because he had this big collaborations with Ed Sheeran and Stormzy on it. And then the other interesting thing on this map here is he started getting some attractions here in Australia, and that actually led to another collaboration with Sia. So in terms of collaboration, it works both ways. Once you get into a market, you get gaining the popularities, and you also can track local artists to do a collaborations with you. Moving on to our next examples.
I'm going to have to stop here. We are out of time for the presentation. Sorry. Yep, as a 5-minute presentation, I have to give the judges some time to ask questions. They're willing to sacrifice their time for questions if they want to see the rest of the presentation, but I have to give them that option. Judges, this is your time.
Yeah, keep going on Aya Nakamura.
Well, thank you, Scott. I promise I will be quick. I'm almost done. So basically here for Anya, as you can see, she's a French artist. Of course, there's big followings in French and Europe in general. And really things gets interesting when it hits June. He get big followings and listening. And again, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, because of his collaborations with a Colombian singer-songwriter, Maluna. It's actually a Spanish version, even make this more successful collaborations. One more example, and this is sort of like a negative example, is where you can see it's been a London rapping group, short as Never Stop Growing. But since all of their collaborations are actually with London local artists, so that's why if you look at their chart on our map, it seems that it has some tractions here and there, but it didn't really go beyond Europe and London, British actually specifically. All right, so we're gonna end this presentation just looking forwards. So this is just a cool way of validating that collaboration actually has very strong and timely effect on how it can really launch artists' career into a different market. So in the future, we do see further exploitations in these markets. We see that major DSP and labels are getting into the market, especially Spotify actually just launched in Nigeria 2 days ago. We do see more collaborations coming up. But it doesn't mean that this genre doesn't have its own concerns and controversies, issues. So one thing that we've been looking and hearing is how you actually define Afrobeats. Is it more associated with overall music from the South Africa? And that really throws some shadows into how do we define and tracking data as the genre has not very been clearly defined. And even though collaboration is great, but overall we do wanted to keep in mind that each market has its own very unique import strategies. And then when it enters certain markets, the collaboration needs to be dedicatedly planned and executed. So that's all, and start streaming Afrobeats today. Thank you.
All right, we'll take time to take one question from Rahul, please.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I had one question. I'll keep it quick because of the time. I was wondering, based on all the research you've done, do you have a sense of prediction or hypotheses where this is heading, like in 1 to 3 years or 5 years?
Yes, we do see interesting trends in some other smart city has been listening to Afrobeats. One of the exciting, interesting things we hear from San Diego, from Chile, and recently in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, Philippines, has been starting to listening to Afrobeats a bit more often. So if I were the label having, Nigerian artists, I will be definitely looking into those regions that can launch pad really artists' career.